Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
You don't hear me. Hi, and hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And then remind you, if you ever have any home or finance related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you, and you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money. I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And before we get into our intriguing content today, we're going to go a different direction, but he is still a repeat offender. Paul Peters is with us talking about a new book coming out. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Ron. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you with us. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance related questions, I am the super consumer advocate looking out for you. And let's see, do we have anything to celebrate today? I look on our list of celebration items, and I don't know where they come up with these things. Some days we get a whole host of really good things, and then there's days like today where they gave us National Sardines Day. Now, that isn't even worthy of a graphic, so we're not gonna even put a graphic up for that one. So, I do look deep sometimes to see, what's really going on. So even though we're not going to celebrate National Sardines Day, I did look at, there's a couple of cool things here on this date in 1954. Air Force One was christened. Okay. And in 1932, the FBI Crime Lab opened in Washington, D.C. So, there's still a few things that we can celebrate, even though, we're not going to be going too heavy on the idea of sardines. Did we miss anything good yesterday, Josh? I mean, I would think that maybe we would have had something decent yesterday, being that there was nothing at all worthy of today. I even looked at it when I was on a broadcast early this morning on a mastermind call, and I confused sardines for anchovies. Now, that's a hard one to confuse, but let's digress and let's move right along and see what's going on. What else is going on in the world? The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 241 points as I speak right now. The NASDAQ, wow, that one's up 503 points. The S&P 500 is up 90. Oil's up 47 cents a barrel. I like seeing this. The 10-year Treasury is down 1 basis point. The bond, the 30-year mortgage bond, is up 7. Remember, that bond goes up, rates go down, so we like that. Although 7 basis points doesn't tell us a whole heck of a lot. And with oil still under $60 a barrel, most of the country is celebrating because gasoline prices on average around the country, especially as we head into the holiday weekend, $3.07 a gallon and dropping. Now, we are in the formerly Golden State, so we're at $4.61 a gallon and increasing. Does that surprise you?
It is what it is.
Yeah, so we got Gavin out there helping us lose money on gas prices. Now, Did you see this one at the end of last week? We got the jerk Tom Steyer, and I do share my personal opinion. Tom Steyer getting into the race for governor of California. Now he is pivoting because when he was running for president, it's interesting because he's got boatloads of money, so he can kind of buy his way into any of these things. But when he was running for president, it was all about climate change. Now it's all about affordability. Now, do you think Tom Steyer has any clue about affordability? I'm just going to throw that out there that, he's a billionaire. So I think he can probably afford anything that he wants to put his money to. Although he hasn't been able to swindle or dupe, my opinion again, hasn't been able to dupe citizens yet. But this is California. So, he's got that D after his name. He might be able to get away with whatever he wants to get away with here. Anything going on this week? Yeah, we're looking forward to Thanksgiving. Now, when it comes to the markets are not really that exciting this week. So we're going to talk in the Mortgage Minute today about what do you do when there's not a whole lot of news? How do we trade markets? How do we deal with these things? Today, the only thing on the economic calendar for today is a 2-year treasury note auction. That's it. Now, tomorrow, we've got an item that we've never spoken about before. We rarely speak about. It's the ADP Employment Change Weekly. Why are we talking about that tomorrow? Because we're not going to get a jobs report. That's not coming out still. So while we're not getting those reports, we talk about what we do have to chat about. So we'll have that one coming out. We're talking about some of the items. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says no recession on the horizon. And he's also talking about affordability. Now, we hear all the time about affordability. We know prices are going up. That's a given. But are wages going up more than inflation? That's the question. And that's what deals with affordability. It's a combination of the two. So we'll talk about that. And we're going to chat today a bit. Oil prices, I think I shared with you that they're up 40 cents a barrel. Now, here's the fascinating part of that one. So we look and see, and it used to be that oil really drove everything in the market. As we've become more and more energy independent here in the U.S., the issue comes up that, okay, with this being energy independent, well, the world oil market doesn't matter nearly as much. So how do we deal with that? Well, we don't have to worry about it, but here's the issue. Ukraine and Russia still fighting. Hopefully they'll figure this out, but they're still fighting, and Ukraine is actually being a little aggressive on the oil assets in Russia. Again, that would generally have a negative impact. Prices on oil would go up, but U.S. producing so much. And then if you watched the news last week, the friendly meeting with the president and the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, well, then that was another benefit right there, because if the U.S. and Saudi Arabia are friendly, then any shortfall of oil coming out of Russia can be picked up by the U.S. or Saudi Arabia, won't have an effect on world markets. So big issues right there. And, again, we just watched the Trump administration. They look like they're playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. I throw that out there, my opinion, and I'm right. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, best-selling author, or soon to be, Paul Peters is with us. We're going to chat about his new book, 4 Reasons Your House is High on Every Buyer's Wish List This Season. And if we get to it, 1 in 7 drivers will ruin their finances unless you do this first. All of that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel lending team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel lending team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And again, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube is where we have all of the replays. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They don't tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They simply tell us the number you need to put in your mortgage calculator to figure out what your principal and interest payment will be. And if you don't have a mortgage calculator, shame on you, because we give it away to you for free on Ron Siegel Radio. rsrlinks.com/mobile app. rsrlinks.com/mobile app is where you get that. So let's see what rates did on Friday. And if you're watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv, any of our socials, you're seeing the chart. We put it up there. If you're listening to us on radio, you can always go to ronsiegelradio.tv and you'll be able to get that chart. But Friday, it looks like every one of the rates were down, which is nice. Conventional 30-year fix, 6.224, that was down. Jumbo 30-year fix, 6.451. FHA 30-year fix, 6.044. VA 30-year fixed, 5.799. USDA 30-year fixed, 5.973. Again, every one of those were down. And we like that idea. If you want our thoughts about the market, we put them out as early as the data allows each business day. That's at rsrlinks.com/HBOD. You can actually subscribe on there to the Ron Siegel Radio community, rsrlinks.com/HBOD. And you can subscribe to our community and get our thoughts on the market, again, as early as that data allows. So let's see what the markets are doing today. We are looking at the S&P 500 is now up 85 points, like that. And we're looking at the 10-year Treasury down 1.5 basis points. 4.05 is that 10-year Treasury. 4.0 is a great number. It's a psychological number. It's not really a technical number, but it is a psychological number right now. The mortgage bond is up 9 basis points. That would be on the 5.5% coupon of the 30-year bond. When that goes up, we like that because that means rates are going down. So, as I mentioned before, quiet economic today, but there's a Thanksgiving helping of news jammed into Tuesday and Wednesday. The longest government shutdown on record has caused a lot of disruptions to economic data, but you probably didn't know that.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Here's a summary of when some of the important data points will be released. The BS reports from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Yes, and they're always wrong, so that's why I call them the BS reports. October and November will be released on December 16th, but the October report will not include the household survey, which means there will not be an unemployment rate in the October report. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, the October report has been canceled, and the November report will be released on December 18th. QCEW, the Quarterly Census of Employment and Wages, originally scheduled for December 3rd, will now be released on December 19th. PCE and GDP, the Personal Consumption Expenditures, and the Gross Domestic Product, have been no announcements yet on if and when the September and October PCE and the third quarter GDP reports will be released. The common trait with the BLS, CPI, and QCEW data is that they will be all released after the Fed's next meeting on December 10th. That means the Fed will be going in somewhat blind and will have to make a decision to cut or pause with limited data. And since they're not very smart,
Such an idiot.
yeah,
Such an idiot.
this used to just be on a loop. Okay, well, we'll get that fixed because they can't go and find the data on their own. They need somebody to tell it to them, even though they've got their beige book, which tells them the data. We believed, as well as the markets, the Fed would not cut rates December 10th with all the data being pushed back. And last week, the odds of the Fed rate cut were 33%. That's jumped a lot. That changed on Friday when New York Fed President Williams said that he believed the Fed could cut in the near term because of the labor market weakness poses a bigger threat than higher inflation. The odds of a cut have since increased to 77%. It'll be very interesting to see what the Fed does, and it's hard to remember a time when there was more division at the Federal Reserve. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. So we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. I don't know if Paul, are you able to hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear?
Up. Oh, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. So sorry.
Awesome. We've got Paul Peters with us, and we're going to chat. We haven't started yet, being due to the technical difficulties. Paul's got a new book coming out, and I think we've got a copy of the cover of the book that we have to share. It's called The Inheritance. And I'm waiting for my inheritance, Paul. I guess I'm not part of the book. But we got a few questions here because I've looked at some of the information with the book, and I always get them confused because it's a double negative. It's nonfiction, right?
Correct. No, it's fiction.
It's fiction.
Yeah, nonfiction would be like.
Okay, so
yeah, I get confused myself. Yeah. Fiction means it's not real necessarily.
And you're the author. I'm just a guy doing radio, and I try to talk about facts.
Yeah, it's a story.
Okay, so nonfiction, not real.
Correct. There you go.
No. It's whatever. It's a story. So it's about survivor's guilt, is the way I understand it. I guess the main character there is Jacob. Is that right?
Correct. Jacob Steele.
Oh, okay. So Jacob starts the journey broken by war, haunted by survivor's guilt before finding his purpose. What made you want to explore what particular darkness, and what did you discover about the relationship between our deepest pain and our greatest purpose?
Well, I basically kind of, when I wrote my first book, which is Discovering and Embracing Your Life Purpose, which is a nonfiction, and it's kind of a guide to help people find their purpose. And I know, look around, TV, movies are all over, and they're about storytelling, and so I thought I wanted to be able to create a book that told a story of about a man who went through similar struggles that many of us go through. His situation, born in 25, loses his parents, is pretty young, both mom and dad, enters World War II, ends up being in the Navy, and his ship is torpedoed and sinks. Many of his fellow soldiers die. And so he deals with the remorse, the trauma from his past, ended up struggling with homelessness, addiction, PTSD, all those different issues, to a point where he wanted to end his life. And so, in that search, a miracle occurs, and he basically is given the opportunity to find out what his purpose is, and he pursues it. And so I think it's taking the pain. You may have heard the term finding pain in your purpose. He takes his pain, he uses it for good, and he transforms the world, and then wants to leave an inheritance for his great grandkids.
I like the idea. Can I be one of his great grandkids then?
Sure.
I guess from
he was a billionaire. You mentioned the gentleman, the politician who was a billionaire. Yeah, because he put his efforts into helping mankind, he was greatly blessed with a lot of riches. So
nice. And what, I dropped off there. We had some technical difficulties, but I didn't hear most of your answer. But being that you're the author, you know best, and there. So I wanted, the next thing that came to my mind was 3 words to describe Jacob's transformation. And from what I gather, you use love, faith, and purpose. But this is a home and finance show, not money, not success. Why those 3? And how do you see those playing out differently than what most people chase when they're trying to build wealth?
Well, I think you kind of answered it. This is a finance show. So people are pursuing finance because it's a tool to be able to better their lives. And so what better way to better your lives financially than to be able to serve and live out your purpose? And typically we're motivated by our passion to be able to help our fellow brethren, our brothers and sisters. And I think part of the key, we talk about abundance or finances, is if you're being a good steward of your wealth, i.e. you're investing wisely, in the life of other people that's going to benefit them, you yourself are by default benefiting. And so I think the key is love is the motivation to be able to serve and help other people in your giftedness and situation. Being a finance show, people will benefit whatever career they choose. I believe if they're giving their gifts to serve other people, and they'll benefit financially. So,
I like that thought because there's so many people, especially historically in the mortgage space. There's been so many people that have just been very, very transactional, and all they look is, and I think it's getting worse now than better, not from the people standpoint, but from the technology standpoint, where so many people can just go online and they think, and in my opinion, erroneously, that you can just go online, get a mortgage. It's the biggest debt you're going to ever incur for most of us. You're buying a house. It's your biggest asset for most of us. And you're doing it with a computer that doesn't know a heck of a lot. And, those ones and zeros. I mean, if you really go back and study computers, all they know is ones and zeros. And, then you're trying to do it without, somebody that's got that's helping you with the right heart. And it seems like that's what your book really gets to is, get help with the right heart.
Yeah. Well, you use the term transactional, which is very interesting. In any relationship, if it's transactional, it has the tendency to be manipulative, and nobody wants to be manipulated in any kind of relationship. And so if you have the element of, the components of value and purpose and love in a transaction, it's no longer transactional, it's relational. And I think that's the key. It's kind of what I call one of the hidden secrets of financial wealth. It's like, if you're doing it to serve other people, you're going to benefit from it. So I think it's taking the transaction, a exchange of money, and you're adding the element of purpose and service and good and all those things that, it's the key element of sales. If you're going to be providing good sales, you provide good customer service. And part of the key of the good customer service is you value that customer. You go that extra mile. Some of those Napoleon Hill quirks. So.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We're going to dig deeper into that when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. 4 reasons your house is high on every buyer's wish list this season. And 1 in 7 drivers will ruin their finances unless they do this first. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. 4 reasons your house is high on every buyer's wish list this season. When the holidays roll around, travel plans, family gatherings, and all the chaos of the season may make you think it's better to pull your listing off the market or to wait until 2026 to sell your house. But here's the thing. Waiting could mean missing out on a great window of opportunity, because while other sellers are stepping away, you can lean in, and that might actually give you the edge. Here are 4 reasons selling now may be the better bet. Number 1, buyers this time of year are serious. Don't let the season fool you. While casual browsers tend to step back around the holidays, serious buyers stay in the game. The people looking for homes right now usually aren't just browsing. They're ready to make a move, and they usually want to close before the new year. As Zillow says, quote, while most buyers have tended to shop in the spring and summer months, those shopping in the winter are likely to be motivated, often moving because of a job relocation, change in financial situation, or change in family needs, unquote. Their timelines are real, and missing them would create a hassle for the buyer. So they're eager to get the deal done, and that's exactly the kind of buyer you want to work with. Number 2, you have control over your schedule and showings. Some homeowners decide not to sell this time of year because they don't want to juggle showings during the holiday rush. They're anticipating traveling to see family, and thinking about buyers in their home only adds another layer of complexity. But here's what no one's reminded them. You can control your showings, and you can set times that work for your schedule. You don't have to stop your plans to keep your sale on track. The right agent can help you manage your calendar, your showings, and your stress level. Number 3, other sellers may step back, which means less competition. Because fewer sellers tend to list this time of year, the number of homes for sale usually falls a bit. Lisa Sturdivant, chief economist at Bright MLS, explains that, quote, as we approach the end of the year, listing activity tends to slow, and would-be sellers decide to wait until after the new year to list, unquote. And in a year when inventory has been readily rising, that seasonal slowdown works in your favor. With the potential for fewer sellers on the market, your house will stand out. So a seasonal dip in listings could help you get noticed, especially if your home is priced right and presented well. Homes decorated for the holidays can feel more inviting. You may not realize it, but seasonal decor can actually help you appeal to buyers. Maybe it's that they have an easier time picturing themselves making memories in the home. Maybe it just feels cozier and more inviting. Whatever the reason, it works. Sometimes tasteful seasonal touches can make it easier to sell your house, but don't go overboard. Keep your choices simple and let your home's charm shine through. Bottom line, there are plenty of good reasons to put or keep your house on the market during this time of year. If you want to talk strategy for how to make the most of this season in our market, let's connect. Give me a call at 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990. And yes, I do have a scorecard for real estate agents in nearly every market. Actually, I do have them every zip code of the United States. If they're working, I've got a report card on them. That is the real-time real estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Continuing our conversation, chatting with Paul Peters, a regular on our show, but the first time we're talking about the new book. Paul, when's the book come out?
It comes out around December 12th.
December 12th. Okay, so got what about 3 weeks to get out there and really push it hard. And I'm really happy that you came on our broadcast to talk about it. Even though the book has an interesting philosophy, and it's something that, if you listen to Ron Siegel Radio on any given day or any time, we close the program with a line that I actually was allowed to steal from a friend's book. And it says, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. And, I look at our conversation right before the break and talking about the area where you put in there the real currency, faith, love, and purpose. And, if you try and help enough people get what they want, I'm a big believer that what goes around comes around. Is that kind of the idea of the book?
Exactly. I mean, it's interesting because Jacob is not wealthy. He actually becomes wealthy after he implements the miracle of the discovery. And from that, he has a huge impact. And it's interesting because the time frame, just to give you historically, is right after World War II. He gets the opportunity to meet Truman. He gets to be involved in the redevelopment of Europe under the Marshall Plan simply because he's put in position of being an authority on helping a lot of people. And because of that, he's able to implement some principles that he himself is learning And one of the things that I think is very interesting, especially in what's going on politically right now, is you have a form of ideology, two different types of ideology, and that's necessarily Republican Democratic, but it is a battle for the minds of young kids. And Jacob recognizes that had Hitler and Mussolini won, we would not be living in the same world. So it's interesting how ideology had formed in regards to the victory of World War II, formed and had the issues historically from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so his whole story is not only about leaving an inheritance, but leaving a sense of a value system that's going to have America be continue, this is not a Trump slogan, but have America continue to be great into the next generation, which is his biggest concern as he gets near the end of his age. He wanted to leave a legacy for his great-grandkids.
And that I think is an important issue because there is so much division right now, regardless, again, of what side of the aisle you're on, that I think everybody, regardless of which way, and I'm a big believer that, both sides of the aisle want the same thing. They want success and happiness and prosperity. They just have different ways of getting there. People want to leave something for their kids, but want to go to the idea here. Jacob creates something that alerts the course of global health and access forever. I think that came right out of the book. Without spoiling the book, what can you tell us about why you chose health and access as the vehicle for his wealth? What was that intention, connecting his greatest pain to his greatest contribution? Give us an idea there.
Yeah, I'll take it directly out of the Bible. Jesus first addressed the needs of the people in regards to the health and hunger. That's why he performed these miracles, so he can ultimately get to the heart and change the heart. And so Jacob recognized with his miracle, which is providing clean water across the globe in a miraculous way, he's able to address those very basic survival needs that people have. Once he's able to do that, he was able to unite a lot of people around that so that they can then help with homelessness, with education, which mentorship was a big part of the book and what he ended up doing, leaving his legacy. I think you meet the basic needs of people, and then you basically have the opportunity to minister them at the soul level, which is really where life-changing transformation occurs.
Yeah, I love that idea. And so now I kind of get the idea where we got the main character is a biblical name as well.
Correct.
So we got that. I'm a little slow, Paul. So I'm a simple guy, but I kind of picked up on that one. So Jacob doesn't just leave his great-grandchildren money; he creates a challenge. I like that, requiring service, unity, and philanthropy in a world where we're constantly talking about passing wealth to our kids. You're talking about passing values. I like that. What inspired that twist, and what do you think it says about how we should be thinking about our own legacy?
Well, I'll give you two examples that are historical figures, Rockefeller and Vanderbilt. So if you know the story of Rockefeller, he made all of his money, billions of money. His son got into the philanthropic world. So who you really remember in regards to the impact today, it's the Rockefellers. Vanderbilts, they have a university named after them, have a hospital, but very few of the Vanderbilts are around to speak of that legacy. And so Rockefeller was very specific in how he wanted to leave his legacy, and he wanted to make sure he did it through philanthropic work. And so I think the key is wealth, as you know, is a tool. And if you're using it wisely, it will multiply. If you don't, it will go away. And a lot of the money that was inherited to the Vanderbilts was wasted. And so he didn't want that money to be wasted. He wanted to teach his children, their great-grandchildren, the principles of sharing, the principles of service, because he knew if they had learned that first, they would be good stewards with their money.
It's interesting you say that, because I had a friend of mine that used to always profess that money makes you more.
Yeah.
And what his comment is if you're a good person, money, and it wasn't grammatically correct. He was never grammatically correct, but money makes you more. If you're a good person, it makes you more good. If you're a bad person, it makes you more bad. So
it's a Captain America principle, I call it.
Yeah, it's kind of just the way it is. As there's a lot of people, and I asked the author that I adopted my slogan or motto from. Why does he put make a lot of money before it's help a lot of people? And he said, because he's been rich and he's been poor, and he can help a lot more people if you have money than if you have no money.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. So it looks like Jacob realized that. And I love the idea that he is forcing his grandchildren and great-grandchildren into the world of service and philanthropy.
Yes.
That's a you're not going to get it unless you're helping somebody else.
Correct. Well, give them a real appreciation what money is for. It's not necessarily for the obtaining of items and wealth. It's for the betterment of society around you. You can still benefit and by being wealthy, but if that's all your goal is to be wealthy, you've missed really what money is all about. It's not about the obtaining of wealth. It's really the use of wealth properly at the betterment of the people around you.
Interesting. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about one more part of the book here, Hope in Darkness. So we'll chat about that when we come back. And I'll see if we have time. If Josh will let me know. 1 in 7 drivers will ruin your finances unless you do this first. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you haven't missed any part of our broadcast, shame on you. But the replay is available. Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com. GetHomeSelect.com. 1 in 7 drivers will ruin your finances unless you do this first. Picture this. You're driving home from work, stopped at a red light when suddenly, bam, someone rear ends your car. Car's damaged. You're shaken up, and then comes the worst part. The other driver has no insurance. Now what? I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Here's a number that might surprise you. 1 out of every 7 drivers on the road right now has no auto insurance. That's 14% of all motorists. Think about your morning commute. How many cars did you pass? Now imagine that 1 in 7 of them is driving uninsured. Most people don't think about this until it's too late. They assume everyone else is playing by the rules, carrying proper coverage, but the reality is different, and the financial consequences can be severe. Let me share what happened to one of my clients last year. Nice family, responsible owners, always paid their bills on time. They got hit by an uninsured driver who ran a stop sign. The damage to their car was about $8,000, and they had medical bills on top of that. Because they didn't have uninsured motorist coverage, they were stuck holding the financial bag. That $8,000 had to come from somewhere, and it came out of their emergency fund, the same fund they were planning to use for a strategic refinance that would have saved them $450 a month. So what does this mean for you? First, understand that where you live matters. Some states operate under no-fault rules where each driver's insurance covers their own damages regardless of who caused the accidents. Other states use what's called a tort system, where insurance companies pay based on who is at fault. But here's the catch. If the at-fault driver has no insurance, you're not getting reimbursed for their share of the damage. This is where insurance strategy becomes part of your overall financial plan. Remember, we evaluate everything through safety, liquidity, and return. Uninsured motorist coverage addresses the safety piece, protecting you from a risk that's completely out of your control. Now, some states require you to carry uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. If yours doesn't, adding it to your policy is worth serious consideration. You can get protection for both bodily injury and property damage, and here's something most people don't know. This coverage can also help if an uninsured driver flees the scene without exchanging information. Let me give you another example. I had a client who was paying about $40 every 6 months for uninsured motorist coverage. She questioned whether it was worth it. Then her daughter got hit by someone with a suspended license and no insurance. The medical bills alone were $15,000. That $40 investment every 6 months saved the family from a potential financial disaster. Here's my recommendation. Contact your insurance agent this week. Ask 3 specific questions. First, do you currently have uninsured motorist coverage? Second, what it would cost to add or increase this coverage? And third, what are the specific laws in your state regarding this type of protection? Now, this ties into something bigger I talk about all the time, insurance strategy as part of your overall financial house. Too many people set their insurance policies and forget about them for years. But your financial situation changes. Your deductibles should match your current liquidity position, not what it was 5 years ago when you first set the policy. If you've been working on building your emergency fund, maybe you can afford higher deductibles now, which lowers your premiums. Or if you've had some financial setbacks, maybe you need lower deductibles to protect your limited cash reserves. This is about suitability, not just eligibility for coverage. The same principle applies to all your insurance. Auto, home, life. Shop your policies regularly. I'm not talking about chasing the absolute lowest rate, but strategy beats rate always. But you need to make sure your coverage still fits your current situation. Think of it this way. Insurance is liquidity protection. When something goes wrong, you're trading a small, predictable cost for protection against a large, unpredictable expense. That's smart planning. So here's your action step. Don't wait until you're the one sitting there after an accident, finding out the hard way that the other driver has no insurance. Take 15 minutes this week to review your auto policy. Make sure you understand what you have and what you don't have, and what it would cost to fill any gaps. If you want help thinking through your overall insurance strategy and how it fits into your wealth building, rsrlinks.com/keysteps, rsrlinks.com/keysteps to get your financial house in order. Remember, 1 in 7 drivers out there has no insurance. Don't let their lack of planning become your financial emergency. This is Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management, reminding you strategy beats rate always. That's the Borrow Smart segment brought to you by rsrlinks.com. Brought to you by gethomeselect.com. Gethomeselect.com. I got to clean that one up, huh, Josh? Continue our conversation. Paul Peters is with us this morning, chatting about his forthcoming book that's coming out, The Inheritance. So, Paul, looking at the back cover, I got a sneak peek. No matter how dark life becomes, hope and purpose are always within reach is exactly on that book. Not just a book description, that's a life philosophy. What's the story behind that belief for you?
Well, it's interesting when we think about our darkest hours, historically, that Civil War, Revolutionary War, World War II, when, Japan hit Pearl Harbor. Those would be considered our darkest hours, but they are the greatest opportunity to rise. And ultimately, it's interesting when the Twin Towers were hit, and especially in the political divide, probably the first time and hopefully not the last time you had both parties come together to pray. And I think in those times when there's peril, there's fear, we have the opportunity to respond. And I think hope allows us the pathway to the future, and making that which was bad or very scary for people something of an opportunity. And I think in Jacob's life, he had despair, loss of his parents. His dad committed suicide. Many of his soldier inmates or soldiers, drowned in the water. He was able to rise and make something great from the trauma and the despair that occurred in his life.
It's amazing how there are times when there is some real darkness, and you, just like you say in the book, that if you get caught up in the darkness, you got a problem. But if you try and find that silver lining, you might really be able. There might be some benefits there.
And that is so true. And I think so often despair overwhelms us, but it's in that despair that we find the opportunity, and that's what hope is. So we should never lose hope, because hope is what I would call the gateway to a future that will help us to prevail in whatever we're going through in that moment. And I think often when we do, and there's countless stories of people who have overcome great tragedy and become very successful because of it, especially in the financial realm. I mean, people, how many times you probably know there's more than how many people have gone bankrupt and they didn't give up and they just started over and they were able to, get back the money they lost and more. They just never gave up.
So, we kind of got to get an idea of Jacob's journey here. And we get the opportunity that most are not going to have when they buy this book. But when we read a book, we always get to figure out what is our takeaway. What are we gleaning from this book or from anything? I know I chat frequently. My wife will talk about, if I don't go to movies very often, but she'll frequently say, what is your thought? What did you take out of it? So as the author, what do you want us to take out of this?
Well, I would probably say two things at the very least. One is that you were created for a purpose. So go and discover and figure out what that is. Actually, three things: live it with passion, make a difference, and then make sure the legacy you leave is a good one, because you're going to leave a legacy and you want to be remembered, and you want to be remembered for filling your place in history. And your legacy is kind of a neutral term, but you think about the people who have left good legacy, like, Lincoln or Martin Luther King or, Mother Teresa. I think of those often come in my mind. And you've got ones that didn't leave a good legacy. Hitler comes to mind. And so we have the ability through the choice. And I think we're all going to live some sense of a life, but you want to be able to have the choice, because it's your life, to live the life that matters. And you want to be able to pass it on to generation, because people who are going to remember us are going to remember for the things we said and the things that we did. And we want to make sure right now, in the present moment, make a choice to live a good life and leave a legacy that's going to matter.
Is it ever too late to change?
Never.
Yeah, I kind of think the same way, is that, if you're not happy if you look in the mirror and you're not happy with that legacy, I've often listened at eulogies. You talk about the dash, what happened before, from the time someone was born until the time that their death, and you see that dash. What was your dash? Right. And are you happy with that? And if not, what are you going to do about it? I can't wait to see the success of your book. I love the concept here of what we've seen so far, and you're describing it for us. December 12th it comes out. Josh, can you put that picture back up of the book cover? Where are we going to be able to get it? Is it going to be on Amazon and all the normal places, or?
Yep, Amazon and bookstores will have it.
Is it available for pre-sale yet, or is that still too soon for that?
No, not yet. I'll definitely let you know, so you can let your audience know when it will be available. Usually pre-sale is probably a week before. Okay.
The Inheritance by Paul Peters. That's the name of the book. Go and put it on your calendar to get it. And I'm just going to throw a shameless plug out there. Looks to me like it would probably be a good holiday gift. Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever you're looking for. I think it'll be a great gift for either of those. Appreciate you coming on and sharing with us, Paul. And as always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean for engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.